Do you dream of traveling full-time while earning an income online?
Do you wish to have the freedom to be location independent?
That's exactly what we did in 2021, and you can do it too.
So the first step is to find a remote job. So you can try and convince your employer to let you work remotely. Thanks to the pandemic, a lot of employers are now eager to do so. You can also find some freelance work on websites like Fiverr and Upwork that allow you to get contracts from people around the world at a certain fee. You could also find a remote job from a remote employer on websites like remote.com.
You can also try to launch your online business. We don't recommend doing this to start just because you won't get paid right away. It might take a long time before you actually get paid for it, but it can be really beneficial in the long run. You can start by doing this as a side hustle while doing another job, but it can be things like starting your own travel blog. You can try to do a YouTube channel or an Instagram travel page. All of those things can eventually pay out, but it can take a while, so yeah. If you're not sure where to start, we would recommend starting with a list of all of your skills. Try to find what can be used online, and you can always try to take some online courses. There are places like Udemy or Udacity, Code Academy, and then you can try to land a job after that.
Having a remote job plays a crucial part in being a digital nomad. And if it takes 1 year or 2 years even to get the skills to be able to do that, it's definitely worth it. Don't give up, you'll get there one day, and we'll definitely meet you somewhere around the world. So the next step is to choose your destination. Working towards a goal and having a clear picture of what your goal is definitely helps to achieve that said goal. So here are a few things to consider when you choose your first destination.
The internet speed. So when you work from your computer, it becomes essential. In Puerto Escondido, when we were in Mexico, anytime it would rain, all the power would shut down and then we would lose internet. So that was definitely harder to work remotely from there. Another thing to consider is the cost of living at your destination. We'll do a completely separate video on how to budget as a digital nomad, but definitely consider how much it costs for accommodation, food, transportation, because if it's too expensive for the salary you will get, just choose another destination. Also, the time zone can be pretty important depending on the job you have. For example, if you need to work from 9 to 5 in your country, consider the time zone where you go. Does it mean you have to work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.? You know, it's really important to look at that. If you do freelance work, that's the nice part of it. You can pretty much work at your own time.
For example, when we were in Vancouver, we had to work from 5 in the morning to 2 p.m. And when we'll be in Europe, we'll be working from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. So definitely take that into consideration.
Another thing to consider is there a nomad or an expat community there? It can be really important just so you don't feel all alone. And it's always nice to meet other people doing the same thing as you. Usually when there's an expat community, there will be a lot of co-working spaces. You'll meet a lot of people along the way, so that can be really important as well.
Okay, so you've got your job, you've got your destination, and you're getting ready to leave home. But you still have to manage whatever's left behind you. So you have to decide what you're gonna do with your apartment or your house. You're gonna rent it or you're gonna sell it. That's a decision you have to make. You also have to make a decision about the stuff you have. So do you wanna store your stuff? There's gonna be a price associated with it. Whether you wanna sell it and take that money to buy another plane ticket to go around the world. So your choice. Also, we would advise to get a mail redirection. Meaning if you get some mail at your apartment, it's gonna be redirected somewhere. And at the same time, get a home address somewhere. You'll still wanna receive any government mail or any important communication to some address. It could be your friends, it could be your parents. There's just somewhere you know you'll be able to retrieve mail eventually.
There are some services that offer to open your mail and send you a PDF of your mail so you can read it from anywhere. So if you plan on leaving for a while and you don't have anyone close to you, you can always use one of those services. We'll leave some of those services in the description box below. So now you figured out what to do with your home, you're almost ready to leave. You're packing your bag, but you have to figure out what to do about your health situation. The first thing to consider is to get all the proper vaccines depending on the country where you're going. So it will depend if you go to Africa or South America or Asia, it would all be different. So make sure you have all of those vaccines up to date. Also, you might want to bring some medication with you. You don't have to overpack because most things you can find where you're going, but maybe bring like, I don't know, just a box of Tylenol. And also, if you need specialized medication like malaria pills, if you're going in the jungle, that can be useful. And it can be also harder to find abroad. So maybe consider that when packing your bags.
Please don't forget to bring travel insurance. I did forget to bring it once, and it's always when you forget it that you absolutely need it, and I will never leave without a travel insurance again. So for example, in our last trip in Mexico, we chose Safety Wing for our travel insurance. It's a travel insurance that is specialized for digital nomads and that also has COVID insurance.
We did a lot of research before choosing Safety Wing, and all the other insurance were like $200 a month, whereas Safety Wings is around $40 a month.
You will find the referral link for Safety Wing in the description, and by using that link, you will help us continue making those videos. We're almost there. We only need to set up your finances and then we'll be ready for the pre-travel checklist. First thing we would advise for finances is to contact your credit card or debit card company just to make sure that they know you're going abroad and that they don't block your card. We would also advise to bring some local currency in cash. Sometimes it's hard to find ATMs abroad, so you'll know you'll have some emergency cash at hand.
Pro tip for you, we always found that at the airport, the exchange rate was always the highest. So we would suggest changing your money either in your home country or when you arrive at your destination. Also, the fees at local banks were always lower than at bigger international banks. If you want to save some money, check those out. The last minute steps to do just before you leave is to modify or cancel your phone plan. So you're most likely going to want to get a local phone number or a local SIM card instead of paying the high price for the international phone plan where you live. What we did was cancel our phone plan in Canada. We got a local SIM card in Mexico, and we installed Fungo, which is an app you can install on your phone. This app allowed us to keep our phone number and to be able to make free calls in Canada just as long as we had Wi-Fi. So we would use our data from our local SIM card to make those calls, and it would be really, really cheap. Maybe that's the cheapest option for you. We would also suggest canceling any memberships you may have, otherwise you'll end up paying money for nothing. So if you have a gym or fitness membership, for example, make sure you cancel it before you leave.
Of course, one of the things you cannot forget is to bring a backpack. It does not have to be top shelves, it just has to be able to hold all of your stuff together and fit on your back. We would also suggest to get a backpack instead of a suitcase. When you're a digital nomad, it's always fun to be able to move freely and quickly, and having to roll your suitcase around definitely could be a burden.
If you're interested to know what our backpacks are, we actually use the Thule Landmark. We'll link those down below if you're interested. We really love those. It's basically a 40 liters and a 20 liters that you can put together. So in total you have 60, but both backpacks can fit in the carry-on bin in the plane.
Actually, you can cancel your streaming subscriptions as Netflix or Spotify if you don't plan on using them. But since we need internet to work, we also have internet for our leisure as well. So we kept those subscriptions, but combined them together so that we only had one for both of us.
But if you use cable, for example, you really need to cancel it before you go, or you'll be wasting your money.
Oh yeah. Getting the international driving permit could be useful. It is mandatory in some countries to be able to drive and or rent a car, but some countries are not. So just look at the documentation first and get one if necessary.
You can go through the AAA website to get an international driving permit. It is really easy and it costs around $50 for 1 year. That's it for our digital nomad video. We hope that those tips were helpful to you. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them down below. We'll be happy to answer them.
So thank you very much for watching this week's video. And for this week, we have the following question for you. What are your top 3 destinations for 2022? That will help us know if you watched the videos until the end. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye!
Peace.